Hello and good afternoon, and welcome to this webinar. Thank you for taking time off and joining us here. I'd like to thank the PhD Chamber for promoting this event and Tube Promotion Council for organizing it. The topic for today is digital printing. Is it time to invest or wait? The questions that we will be discussing: is digital print technology only for tubes? What advantages does digital print have over on the tubes? What advantages that is offer? Can digital printing be affordable on tubes? What is the applied cost of digital print? Opportunities for digital printing? Other value added optimization, customization for tubes, as cap printing, etc., and feasibility of digital print investments. The relevance of this topic under the current business scenario cannot be emphasized enough. The phenomena of social media and niche markets is here to be tapped by shrewd market players. In addition, India is a crucible for startup brands in every field. Online retail and organized retail demand a high degree of consumer connect to engage various consumer categories. Digital print capability on tubes offers solutions to meet such marketing demands. In addition, it is an affordable and quick startup investment option that could yield high returns in a short period of time. To discuss the various aspects, we have a lineup of eminent speakers and panelists. Uh, the program that we are planning to have now is for 60 minutes. It will start with a welcome address from Mr. Saqib Dalmia, Vice President, PhD Chamber, and it will be followed by an introduction to Tube Promotion Council by Mr. Praveen Bhatia, Director, Provestment. Digital print on tubes by Mr. Mrinal Banerjee. Unfortunately, he will not be able to join us today. And visit to the Wifag-Polytype Switzerland uh, plant by Mr. Alain Berset and Mr. Daniel Colin Brenner. And Safety of Digital Print Inks by Dr. Ralph Mueller of Seedwork. After that, we'll have a question answer session and for that, I would request all participants to enter their questions uh, during the webinar in the chat box, and at the end, we'll have the question answer session. We will now welcome Mr. Saket Dalmia, the Vice President, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Mr. Saket Dalmia is the Managing Director of PG Industry Limited, a leading manufacturer of Italian marble flooring and facade solutions across India under the brand name Marble City. Marble City is headquartered in Delhi. The company has several joint ventures with cutting-edge global facade products and felicitated as one of the 100 fastest growing export houses from India by the late Prime Minister Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, with large format, high-end retail cum warehouse outlets spread across major cities like New Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, and All India dealer network. Marble City is today a household name for Italian marble. The company boasts a state-of-art manufacturing facility with the largest capacity to solely process imported marble. Mr. Dalmia has been the chairman of Young Business Leader Forum and the Retail Committee at the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. As an esteemed member of the chamber, Mr. Dalmia is actively involved in attracting young entrepreneurs and professionals to the chamber and has been the guiding force in driving the chamber to newer highs. So now I invite Mr. Saket Dalmia to make a welcome address. Dalmia.
Thank you so much, Mr. Manchandaji, for such a brilliant introduction. I'm humbled by those kind words of yours. Thank you so much. First of all, my greetings to all the delegates and fellow speakers. As I can see that we have a global audience here and mostly industry relevant people to enlighten us more about this beautiful industry, or rather, I should say, evolving industry. So, a warm greeting once again to Mr. Praveen Bhatia ji, founder of the Tube Promotion Council, Mr. Alan Burset, Chief Business Officer from Switzerland, Mr. M.K. Banerjee, Director Creativity and Innovation, SL Propac, Dr. Ralph Muller, Head of Sales, UK Inkjet EMEA, Segwork, Truck Farben, and of course, Mr. Deepak Manchanda-ji, the founder of the Packaging Consortium. All the fellow participants, welcome to this seminar on digital printing. Is it time to invest or wait? I must say, when I read this headline, I was taken aback. I thought, why are we talking about digital printing? I thought that's a cliche, it's come and gone, you know. Then I delved deeper and I understood through Mr. Praveen Bhatia ji about the Tube Promotion Council and how digital printing is going to probably revolutionize the industry going forward. And immediately I was taken aback about the flexibility of printing, which has come of age. And I started wondering for my industry itself, how digital printing can revolutionize. That could be discussed another day. Probably we are here today to discuss about the immense potential India holds regarding, first of all, tube manufacturing. As we have seen with the COVID pandemic, that the packaging industry and most of the agrarian and consumer-oriented products, which are the primary drivers of tube industry today, at least for India, have grown at a breathtaking speed and continue to do so. Having said that, counterintuitively to other industries, it is the right time, I think, for the printing industry to take notice of this revolution which is taking place in the tube industry. I think India going forward is going to be a very interesting and exciting market, and digital printing on flexible solutions will require obviously large investment in capital machinery to be made available into India, which I understand is a very specialized supply base as of today. The inks which are related to give the color, hue, texture, and the flexibility, apart from the machinery, and the expertise going ahead, keeping in mind the price sensitivity of the Indian consumer, because we must not forget that end of the day, the base level is the biggest level which is growing in India in terms of price points under any product category. And as we go up and create a bigger middle class, I think we have to start with, in terms of cost, at the lower strata of the demand situation. Having said that, I think I will bounce it back to Naveen ji, and I'm really looking forward to learning more and getting associated more with such trade, or rather specific industry initiatives through the PhD, where we can learn, share, and try to bring different stakeholders together to learn more about India, to learn more about their industry, and to be a part of the growing future which we can see for India. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you very much. Those were very inspiring words. And with that, I think we have much to look forward to now. Mr. Praveen Bhatia will now take us through a short presentation on what we are trying to do with the Tube Promotion Council and what tubes stand for and what sort of activities have been done. Mr. Bhatia is the director of Pro-Vestment and Wifag-Polytype in India. He's formerly from Uflex, and he has wide experience in packaging projects, and he is the promoter and visionary of the concept of the Tube Promotion Council. So Mr. Bhatia, please take us through your presentation.
Thank you, Deepak ji. Thanks a lot. And I all welcome to all the attendees from India and abroad. And I'm really thankful to all the panelists who have spared their time for this initiative, which we have taken with PSD Chamber of Commerce. I'm really very thankful to PSD Chamber of Commerce also, because they always support these kind of ideas. And Naveen ji really very helpful in all the initiative which we take. I'm especially thanks to Mr. Spangler, Secretary of European Tube Manufacturer Association, who has also joined a webinar today. I'm really thankful to him.
नहीं,
Let me introduce the Tube Promotion Council. In Tube Promotion Council,
अच्छा इनके बाद
if you know, this idea came to in my mind when I was involved with tube industry from since 97, and I was seeing that what are the challenges with this our tube manufacturer are facing. So these are the ideas which came to our mind, that why don't we have some common platform to discuss the technical aspects of the tubes? What are the quality standard we should have in our tubes? Unavailability of the skilled manpower is there. No doubt the flexible packaging industry is there, but still the tube is very niche market. So unavailability of the skilled manpower is still a question mark here. And no dedicated tube magazine, especially in India. No doubt there's a one magazine which comes out from, I think, from US, the Tube News, but there's no magazine comes in this part of the area, especially the Asian countries, which dedicated to the tube industry. So what are the initiatives we took? We thought it's better to have some industry networking, impart the knowledge of expertise of the tube industry, especially people like Deepak ji, Mr. Saha, Mr. Deepak from PhD Chamber of Commerce, who can give us some more knowledge to our tube industry. Then we thought, why don't we have one representative body which can represent to all the concerned government officials to get more benefits to the tube manufacturers and in context of GST and subsidy, etc. Again, developing a quality standards. What should be the quality standards we should have? Give us some platform for a technical discussion and some connectivity for the international business partners so that they can do a much better, they can cover the much better market and some publications. So these are the steps we want to take in a tube promotion council. In this COVID time, we practically used this time to start our tube promotion council. The first webinar we done on 10th of July, which was the first webinar by the TPC. And the idea of this was to give an introduction of the tube segment, not to the people who are already in a tube market, but the people who want to come in a tube segment. So we had a good panelist was there, Mr. Deepak, Mr. Alan, Mr. M.K. Banerjee, Mr. Meeru, Mr. Arvind Narang was there. And we covered very good response we got. Second one, we organized regarding the tube packaging, which is a squeezed market in the new business opportunity, because the market, everywhere the market is tough and margins are going down. So we discussed on this topic, which is the tube industry, and this was scheduled on 28th of August, and it was well responded by all the people who joined us. And the third event we did on 1st of October, where we've given a new concept, I mean, where the people are talking about what is a tube manufacturing. When we say that in the pharma division, where a lot of contemplation is there, people wants that there should be less contemplation on the tubes. So there's one machine was developed by Mechatronica, where you can make a tube and fill the tubes in the same in-house. So this was also taken a very good response by the people. So all these webinars, presentations are there in our website, that is www.tubecouncil.org. Now the tube industry, as I mentioned, is a part of flexible packaging industry, and the market is valued at the US dollar $221.7 billion in 2019 and projected to be worth of $278.9 billion by 2025, registering a growth CAGR of 3.9%. This is a report came recently by one of the global M&A partners. They given this report, and really a good report, where they mention also this growing market is demands of the customer are friendly packaging is increasing. And there's three factors which are driving a flexible packaging demand. One is the e-commerce, sustainability, and digital printing. So that is why we are now in this further on in next 40-45 minutes, we are discussing on digital printing. So let's welcome to the digital printing webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bhatia. I think you might like to also mention some initiatives, similar initiatives happening in Europe, the ETMA.
Yes, we are in contact with ETMA and we are working on some strategic alliance or some types of things so that we can give a better knowledge and better platform to our tube manufacturer of India, Asia, practically Sri Lanka, Nepal, because in this side of the area only we are going to represent and help them in all the sectors. Thank you, Deepakji.
So now that we have a perspective on the tube market in India and the factors driving the tube industry, before we go into actual digital printing of the tube, we will take an aside and look at the safety aspects, which is safety and sanitized, the non-toxicity of tubes manufactured. So we have Dr. Ralph Mueller with us from Siegwerk, who will tell us about the non-toxicity or safe inks which are used for digital printing on inks. Dr. Ralph Mueller is from Siegwerk. He is the head of sales of UV Inkjet EMEA located in Siegburg. He acquired a PhD in chemistry in 2014. He joined Siegwerk in 2015 as new business development manager within Siegwerk Corporate Development. He performed strategic assessments of potential new markets and technologies. He moved to BU Inkjet when established in 2018 as sales manager UV, and he supported the post-merger integration and customer transition following AGFA UV Inkjet acquisition in 2019. So now we invite Dr. Mueller to make his presentation. Dr. Mueller?
Yes, thank you very much for the kind introduction. Shall I share my screen or will it be shared?
I think they will share it.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Yes. So thank you very much again for the nice introduction. I mean, as already mentioned, I'm taking care of our sales activities within Siegwerk for UV inkjet inks in the region of EMEA, so Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So can you please go to the next slide? Yes, thank you. So just a quick overview. So the business unit Inkjet, where I am operating from, is the youngest business unit within Siegwerk, within the Siegwerk Corporation. So we have established the business unit in early 2018, just following the acquisition of the UV inkjet for packaging and labels business from the company AGFA. So today in the segment of UV inkjet for labels and packaging, we are number 3 globally in supplying inks. We are reporting an annual sales growth of more than 30% per year since the acquisition. So again, showing the importance and the speed of growth in this rather young packaging segment. And we are fully committed to the OEM business and partnership approach, which is predominantly the business model in the inkjet world today. So meaning compared to our analog ink business, we are not selling our inks directly to the end users, but we are partnering with the OEM, supplying our inks to the OEM, so to the machine manufacturer, who then distributes our inks to the end users. Just to give you an idea of the business model. Okay, next slide, please. Thanks. So as you know, the whole packaging and label market is very diverse in the sense of the different applications. And we do believe that there is not one inkjet ink technology which can address the whole complexity of the market today. But what we see is basically that UV curable inks, they are today fully proven on thick materials. They show very high print reliability. And that's why today predominantly we see those UV-based technologies in the segment of narrow web, being mainly labels, alu blister, so a lot in the pharma markets, and of course in the segment we are today addressing, so the direct-to-object printing and PTLs, so plastic tube and laminate markets, as well as in coding and marking. So when the target is to basically apply monochromatic variable data in a reliable and fast mode. Additionally, and especially as UV technology is always challenging on thin substrate materials, we see water-based inkjet ink technology as the second technology necessary to address the whole packaging market. So water-based inks are a good fit with thin materials, especially also with porous or paper-type materials, and they do have, of course, a considerably lower migration risk versus UV. That's why today we see them mainly in the tissue and napkins markets, in general in paper and board, and more coming into tobacco and the flexible packaging segments. So what, of course, I would like to highlight today, the ability of UV inkjet technology to enable digital printing for direct-to-object and PTL markets. So I would like to go to the next slide, please. Yes, so just as a brief general introduction to inkjet printing, we will hear more from Polytype on the details. But the key requirement to have, first of all, a good and a reliable print is the formation of the drops. Yeah? So you can see a visual representation of how a drop is formed by an inkjet head. And there are basically two main criteria. One is basically related to the machine. Yeah? So the print head, specifically the control and operation of the print head by the jetting pulse, being the waveform and some other more machine-related criteria. But there is a considerable amount of ink-related requirements that need to be fulfilled to have basically a good drop formation as well as drop placement. And this is specifically the surface tension, the viscosity, and the pigment size in the ink, which then, of course, we as Wifag need to make sure to fully masterize these key requirements in order to supply a functional UV ink, which is well working in the application process. So please go to the next slide. Thanks. So here, just a quick overview of these key requirements compared to, or as a comparison to what you may know from conventional analog printing inks. So the viscosity of a typical UV inkjet ink is in the range of 5 to 15 millipascal seconds at the jetting temperature. So usually the ink is heated in the head to reach these typical or best performing viscosity windows to temperatures of 40 to 45 degrees. So you already see that the viscosity of the inkjet ink is considerably lower than what we know or what you know from conventional UV flexo, for example, ink, for example. And to be in this exact window for the viscosity is a key requirement to have the perfect drop formation and to prevent starvation in the print head. The particle size, again, is very specific to inkjet inks. So we are grinding our pigments to sizes usually smaller than 200 nanometers to prevent the clogging risk in the thin nozzles of the print head. And we also operate in a very small window regarding surface tension. So usually it's 20 to 30 or up to 40 millinewton per meter, again, to ensure the drop formation of these small picoliter sized droplets, and especially to have the best wetting behavior on the nozzle plate, but also on the substrate, because what you need to always keep in mind is that in a digital process and in an inkjet process, it's a non-contact technology, so the droplet needs to spread and wet the surface of the substrates by itself. There is no mechanical force from a roll pushing the ink or spreading the ink on the substrate. So the ink basically needs to do the substrate wetting by itself. So I would like to give you some more concrete details on the inks we are today formulating for direct-to-object. So please go to the next slide. So in the direct-to-object market today, we are partnering with Polytype. Polytype is the leading OEM in terms of inkjet presses for direct-to-object printing. Whether it's cups, tubes, bottles, or trays, you find Polytype basically globally everywhere where there is digital production of these types of packaging. So therefore, we have developed specifically for Polytype an ink series which is called Secura NutriJet DTS, and DTS in that case stands for direct to shape. So it's specifically for this direct to object or direct to shape printing. It's based on a patented UV low migration technology. So the key here basically on this development was to find a formulation which of course is safe to use in nutrition, pharma, and healthcare environments. So to ensure that basically the monomer network is dense enough to encapsulate all migrants which could potentially be considered as dangerous for the packed product. But on the other side, to also ensure still enough flexibility and adhesion to perform well then in the end in a cured state on, for example, flexible tube applications. And this we managed very well with this patented monomer technology which we have developed. We will hear more from Polytype on the details of the machine, but this ink is also special because it has been optimized for wet on wet printing. So as you can see on the bottom right, in the Polytype systems, the tubular substrates, so the tubes or cups or bottles, they are rotating when they are printed and moving from one color station to the next, and in between the ink stays wet, so it is not cured. So the chemistry to control the intercolor behavior in this wet on wet printing approach was basically key here to ensure the best print outcome. So today, basically, this ink is available in CMYK white, and we are also now starting with orange and green to address basically a bigger color gamut. Also very important to understand here, so the whole market of direct-to-object printing today is dominated by Konica Minolta printhead technology because it offers a very narrow nozzle plate width, which is important if you're printing on a curved surface. So this ink has been designed basically to have the best jetting performance in this viscosity range of the Konica Minolta printhead. So go to the next slide, please. Of course, compared to the approach of printing directly on a pre-shaped object, there is the possibility to print on flat laminates, which are then formed into tubes. So we have also specifically developed an ink series for this approach, which is called Secura Jet G4. So in this case, it is not a low migration formulation. That was not the necessity here, but the key requirements for this application and for this technology was to first of all optimize the flexibility of the ink film, because if you print it on the flat material and then afterwards form the tube, the key requirements that the ink needs to have or withstand is basically the mechanical deformation, so it needs to have a high flexibility to prevent the cracking of the ink film and ensure an optimized adhesion on the tube or on the laminate substrate to prevent then basically ink removal in the post processing. So go to the next slide, please. I would like to speed up a bit to stay in time. So I would also like to highlight to you that we see more and more demand for specialties in digital printing, specifically in inkjet. So there's today not yet a wide choice of, let's say, functional printing inks or lacquers, being, for example, haptic or inks or varnishes with security features. And this is what we are currently addressing. So since the acquisition of the Agfa business, we have developed a broad range of a jettable varnish family, of which I would just like to quickly give you a few examples here. So we do have developed a jettable soft varnish for flexible substrates. So just if you want to give basically a flexible, a glossy highlight to a flexible surface, for example, in the label market. We have also developed a high build varnish for haptic effects. So basically where you can print multiple layers of the varnish on top of each other to then basically have a high build structure, which you then basically can feel. We have just now developed a matte varnish based on a special innovative pigment technology, which to our knowledge will be now the first matte varnish, which is jettable in an inkjet process. And we are continuously developing new security varnishes, either based on UV fluorescent technologies, or also Tagant and reader combination, depending on the segment, because we see that with a direct to object approach in inkjet, there can be a big field of applications in terms of security. Yes, go to the next slide, please. Just very quickly, a look into our production and development facility. So we have basically all our production R&D located in our site in the south of France, in Annemasse, where we are equipped with all the state-of-the-art equipment that you need for development and quality control of inkjet inks today. Specifically, we are equipped with a drop watcher system, which is basically a high-speed camera to observe the drop formation and to work and optimize on the waveform behind. And we are also equipped with different inkjet print systems, from small modular monochromatic system up to an industrial 5-color UV inkjet systems to basically resemble and replicate the industrial processes of printing today. And go to the next slide, please. Can you go to the next? Yes, thanks. Just at the end, a quick look into our new production facility, which we have built in 2018 and opened in 2019. So we today have a pilot unit for specialties and low runners with a capacity of 30 tons per year. And we are operating a fully automated production line for our main high runner inks, where we can produce today up to 800 tons of UV inkjet ink per year. So I have added 2 more slides which show our product portfolio of UV curable inkjet inks. I don't want to go into the details, but anyway, I think all participants will have the opportunity to access these slides. So just for your information, our product leaflet basically is attached to the presentation. Okay, I hope I could give you a bit of an insight, and it wasn't too long, into how Siegwerk addresses basically the world of UV inkjet printing on direct to object and PTL. Yeah, I'm happy to discuss your questions later.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Mueller. I think that's a great overview of the various types of inks which are available for direct to object. So we've asked for questions towards the end of all the presentations. Maybe if there are any particular points somebody would like to refer, then please put it in the chat box. So with this, we'll move on to the next part of the program, which is to visit Switzerland and with Mr. Alan Bursett. He will make a presentation on the on the techniques for direct printing on tubes, digital printing. Mr. Alan Bursett is the Chief Business Officer and Global Director, Sales and Market Development of Wifag-Polytype Holding. He has spearheaded the launch of Polytype digital machines for various segments like aluminum cans, cups, and other plastic containers. He is the driving force behind DigiTube, Polytype digital printing machine. His association with global customer base has helped the company in development of many new features in Polytype digital product portfolio. So along with him, Mr. Daniel Kohlenbrenner, Sales Manager of for Plastic Tubes and Containers Division. So he will also uh, take us through the machine and how it performs after Mr. Alan Bursett has made his presentation. So over to you, Mr. Alan Bursett.
Thank you, Deepak, for your nice introduction. Today, I will try to wake up your curiosity and present the digital printing as a new approach. Can you show the presentation, please? Yeah. Okay, next. Okay, for people which does not know Polytype, Polytype has been active now since 60 years in direct to shape decoration. We started 60 years ago to develop some offset printers. And during the last 20 years, we developed screen printing, flexo printing, hot stamping, etc., etc. 10 years ago, we decided to enter to a new world, which is called digital. And we decided to invest quite a lot of money to enter to this market. And up to now, we sold 18 machines. I have to say it was a very slow start, a very slow takeoff 10 years ago. Everybody was scared to invest and buy, and now I can say I can really see a big takeoff. For example, this year we sold about 4 machines already. So we can really see the market is behind us, wants to use this new technology. And I think 2019 was really a big change on the digital industry. Next. This is just a global view of what we are doing in Polytype in digital. You can recognize our two main core business, which is tube and caps. So on the tube market, we develop few machines now, and you can see on the picture with nice photorealistic print. This is starting at the moment, but we have a very good success, I have to say, on the cap side, where we produce cap for multi-use cap. For example, when you go to festival, so you can have your cap, you reuse it, you refill it, and of course for this kind of caps, people are looking for nice quality print, photorealistic print, and this was a quite good success there. We also start business this year. We sold our first Digi bottle. You can see on the left of the slide, here are some bottles. And this is for the first customer in Brazil. And here I also see a big potential because it's also a market where people are looking for marketing, nice printing. And this, of course, this kind of container I reuse and reuse. So they like to have nice printing. We have been working also, as you see on the leads, on closure, for example, for wine caps or spirit caps. This is also market now are thinking about putting more marketing on that. We are working very hard with our sister company, Mal und Erlen in Germany, on cans, aerosol cans. Here we develop two ways to print cans. It can be printed inline, means as offset today, and integrate inline, or we have a different business model also. At the end of the line, you get a white aerosol can, which is finished, and with a digi bottle, you will make the decoration at the last minute what the customer wants later on. Next. I say digital is a new approach. This is a good example here. We have a customer in Taiwan, C-Box. They invest in digital and completely have a different approach. They use the e-commerce to sell the caps they are producing through Alibaba here. And it's not like before, okay, I send 1 million caps there and this and this. No, here they really dedicate caps to the customer. Is more a B2C approach, it's clear. They are talking to this consumer directly through the website. But why I want to bring this slide here is even if you are on B2B business, I think is a lot of things to be inspired here. Is are we going to still produce tube or caps or whatever based on forecast, which is always wrong, you know, so you produce always a wrong quantity of packaging, or are we going to be connected with our customer, which is connected with the market, and we will produce exactly what the market needs, nothing more, nothing less. So I think this is good approach, should be also, we can bring to B2B business as well. Next. Okay, one beauty of digital printing is everything around variable data. As you can see on this picture today, each item can be different. So you could put names, different names on different packaging, as Coca-Cola and Ferrero made with Nutella. But we could also use it to make different pictures. I have a good example in US, a customer, he prints a full soccer team. So every cap is a different face of a player. So people can make the collection of all the players of the football team. So this is a nice way to make personalization for marketing opportunity. And a third things can be interested in with the variable data is to make incremental code bars. This is a way maybe to avoid counterfeiting. So you can have every tube, every cap with a different code bar, and when you read it, you know, is not a copy of the same code bar or something like that. Yeah. Next. Okay, now I was a little bit general. Let's talk about more in detail about the digi, about the tube and the digi tubes. So we decided a few years ago to develop a machine for the tube market. Of course, we know very well the tube market. We have been active more than 60 years in this market. So we developed a machine which can cover the full range of the tube diameter, 19 to 60, the full length, and to be able to print everything. And the print length, we can also print the 210. So this is important, not only a part of the tube. And this made at the speed of 120. Before, and in the decoration part, we, at the first step now, we developed the white preprint. Why white is because on the tube side, some tubes are transparent. So you need to have a white background before you print CMYK on top. And also if you would have a dark tube with this black or dark blue, which you need really a white background. That's why we start always with the white preprint, we say, and after that we have the process color CMYK. At the moment we are working with CMYK only on that machine, but as Ralf Müller said before, Sigwerk developed already the next colors, orange, green, and violet. So this is, of course, the intention of Polytype to integrate this additional color in the future. At the moment, on the lacquering unit on this machine, we decided not to go first with digital, but as Ralf Müller said also, this has been developed. So now we could choose if you want to make the lacquering process with a normal or standard conventional lacquering unit, or you could do it by digital. Both are possible. And what the quality of our printing today, which we can get with this conical minos ahead, is we're using the single pass with a visual resolution of 1200 dpi. Next. Okay, let's talk about, I will come later on laminate, but now what can be done on extruded tube? So the machine can print sleeves or tube. This is important. Why we want to print sleeves sometimes is when you can see here on the screen the black tube, you can really print until the end. So that means you will not see a white line between the tube and the cap there. So to print sleeve is really important. Like this, we can print until below the cap. And of course, if you don't have the configuration in your production line to make sleeve, we can also print tube as well. What was also equipped with this machine, which is important, is if you want to combine different technology. For example, we have a print orientation according to the preprint. So that means you could maybe print a tube by offset first, and we could go with this printed tube to the digital printing machine, make a detection of the mark or whatever, and print according to the print. What's possible as well is cap decoration. You see it on the left side of the folio. So this is also possible. As I mentioned already, varnish, we can make inkjet varnish, we can conventional varnish, we can make spot varnish. Everything possible is always according to customer specification. And as say, use of variable data, always possible, very easy to integrate in the machine. And that machine can be run if inline, if you want to integrate this with your heading machine, extrusion and capping, or if you decide, no, I will use it offline. We also have a configuration for offline purpose. Next. So for the laminate tube is not so different. For us, if it's an extruded tube or a laminate tube, is nearly the same. Here we are talking about printing a laminate after forming, not with a web which will be printed before. This will give more flexibility to you. It means you can produce white tube or transparent tube, and at the last minute you can print digitally laminate tubes. What is important to know to be able to print this laminate tube is a point 2 on the slide is to have a print orientation according to the seam, because you don't want to have the main picture and the seam in the middle. You will decide where you want to put the seam on the tube. So this is important. And all the rest is, as I say already, for plastic tube is the same capabilities, the same possibilities. Next. Okay, we always talk about what is print quality. The digital technology is not today, could be maybe in 5 years and 10 years, a technology which will replace everything. At the moment is not the case. Is more technology. But here I show you some good example, the strength of digital. On the left-hand side, this is, as I say, this is some example of what we can do on this machine, where I can really say the strength of digital. As already mentioned, the photorealistic effect, we can really print pictures. It look like photos. If you see the orange or the lady face, they are much better what we can do in offset or flexo today. A good strength of the machine is also to make screen printing effect. You see on the tube here, the black is really sharp, is really thick. It really looks like a screen printing. And the beauty of that, we can run it at the full speed. We don't need to slow down the machine. So this is a very efficient way to make screen printing as well. On the third picture, you see a beautiful full color print. We use an orange, which is always difficult to reach. And if you would see the tube in reality is very even, is very constant with a nice ink coverage as well. And the last also decoration part, which is always important, is the lacquering, because the tube has to have a varnish on top. We can make gloss or varnish or matte effect as well. And as Ralph said before, this has now we can be also made through an inkjet technology as well. Next. Okay, so I came to this slide here because is when we start digital 10 years ago, we have been working with external suppliers, and it was not easy for us. It was a nightmare because for us it was like a black box to work with people specialized in digital. And this is why we decided, we say, no, digital Polytype cannot rely on an external guy which will decide what is going to develop in digital and not. This is why we decided really to have our own team. And we built the Kalmar team, which is really specialized in this digital competencies, where they really make the electronics and the soft of the system. We have all the print system automation, which is developed by the team, the ink supply solution. And this now with our 18 customer, we can see the big advantage to give them assistance. Why? Because if something wrong, they call us, they can get direct assistance from us, and we don't need to go through an external supplier or somebody also think about the new innovation. Something can be modified and adjusted, and so we can also easily change and make something more accurate for them, more dedicated to them. So for us, it was really a must to have our own team here to have everything under control. But the product Kalmar is quite good, and as we could sell it also to some customer. So we have maybe the black box or somebody else, but like Gallus, they use also our Kalmar technology on the machine, on the lacquering side, and we have different good experience with OEM. Why we do that is when you work with OEM working in different industry, which are not necessarily our competition, we can share the development cost, we can exchange the way to where to go to digital. So this is a good partnership which help everybody. Next. Next. Okay, I bring this slide here because I know many people which I was talking about digital. First question is, how much costs the ink? How much costs the head? How many? Of course, this is important question, but I think we cannot only talk about the ink. We have to talk about the full case here. And 1 month ago, we really went deep with a customer in Europe, which has been working only with screen printing. And we say, okay, we will give you all the information, how much costs the ink, the head, etc. But please share with us what is your production numbers as well. And so we put in parallel the production number of screen printing and in parallel the number of digital. And what was a big surprise for us, I knew digital is very competitive with small amount of product. If you only print 20 or 500 or 1,000. But here in this case, I don't say for every case is like that. For this case, the screen printing cost will be always at least 2 times more expensive than digital. Even if the ink is 3 times more expensive than the screen printing ink, because one example, I don't want to go through all the Excel, and a good example is with screen printing, they are doing 9 to 10% scrap waste, and with digital is 0.5. So only the reduction of waste will pay the ink, you know, is all these kind of things has to be studied. So my message here is, if you are interested to enter to digital, please contact us and we make a case with you. We really sit down around the table, we put the value, and we can really evaluate and if this digital technology suitable for your market and for your case. Next. Okay, I will finalize my presentation with this slide. Okay, what did we learn during the last 10 years? The first lesson we learned for me was, if you want to be an expert, you must have digital in-house yourself, and you must be a specialist of your market. What I mean, so Polytype was since 60 years a specialist in tube, and now we are also a specialist in digital. So you must be a specialist both, really, to move forward and to understand and react as the market wants to go. The second is, what I realize also, order size from 1 to 20 are reality today. We have customer now, we have the French customer selling 1 cup. Okay, it's a logistic issue, but he could manage it. He sells 1, 2, 5, but he sell it for 10 euro. You know, is different business model. And this is what drive me to the third point, is e-commerce and direct marketing here, a new potential for business model. I know this is more driven for B2C business, but I think we can be inspired also for the B2B business. The last point, what I saw during the last 10 years is people only want to talk about printing. Oh, how big are the dot? How I see a line here, etc. But I think, yes, of course, we need to reach a level of quality, but the discussion must go more on logistic and new business. What I mean, why you don't think about finding new solution for your customer? You can deliver in 1 week. You can make a small quantity there. You provide them a solution, maybe with some compromise on the printing, but you provide solution to your customer. So I think this has to change a little bit, and not only seeing all the disadvantage of the technology, but seeing the advantage of the technology. And of course, the challenges during these years was the mentality. As I say, people think still like the existing business model, and to think out of the box and find new way to sell tube is not easy, and this takes time and has to go step by step. And I say here is not the same way to sell 10 times 5,000 tube like you would sell 1 time 50,000. It's not the same skill, not the same tool, it's not the same customer, etc., etc. Next. So thank you for your attention. I will have a pleasure to answer your question at the end of the presentation. This is our website, so you can go in, you will find out all the product we do in the Wifag-Polytype group. And also, you are welcome to contact us to have more private or more dedicated discussion with you. Thank you.
Thank you for that great overview of tube digital printing. There is already a question for you in the chat box, which perhaps we can address now before we go into the plant visit. Alan, the question is from Gregor Spengler. What are the main market trends supporting the introduction of digital printing in the flexible tube industry? Did you get that?
I cannot. Okay. Okay, what is the main trend now? Okay, the tube business at the moment with digital is not the most easier where we have success, because they are not linked to e-commerce and new business model. But I think now this is discussion we have to have with our customer, and if the customer can open new way to make business and not thinking only to replace maybe an offset printer and put a digital instead of, and trying to reduce only the cost. So it has to be a combination of, yeah, to be more productive in the line, I agree, to reduce the cost of production, but also create new product and maybe new answer to the market. But frankly speaking, you are right. The market of tube is a less conservative market we have in our portfolio at the moment for digital.
All right. Do you want to go into the plant visit now and then we address the questions?
Yeah. Yes, please. Yeah.
Hello to everyone. I do welcome you to our assembly facility here at Polytype, Switzerland. This factory was built almost 60 years ago, and we have a long history of machine development, building and worldwide servicing. During this period of time, we have built more than 300 reliable and efficient printing and finishing machines for the tube market. Also, we have built more than 1,400 printing machines for the cup printing market. We do build machines running at 80 parts per minute up to 650. What I'll do, I'm gonna switch my camera to the front camera and walk over to the sector where we do the digital printing machines. So here on my right side, you can see a digital printing machine for cups. We call this machine the DigiCup. Then secondly, you see the DigiTube printing machine. We will go into details and I will show you a demo on this DigiTube printing machine. Then on the left, we have a third printing machine, a DigiCup, and even a fourth digital printing machine that is lined up. There's a lot of projects going on in the digital printing domain. Let's go and see the details of the DigiTube. First, on my right side here, we have the control panel of the machine. I have two control panels. One is for the automation of the machine, where you can enter all the different production parameters. And then on the right side, we have our computer running all the digital softwares for printing, selecting print jobs, and we're gonna show you that just in a minute in further details. Then on the right side of this machine, we have our in-feed conveyor. In this case, we have manual feeding, where we run this machine in an offline mode. This can also be connected then to an inline production mode. This is the back side of the machine. We have the different access possibilities to change ink, what we can do even during the production. So over here, we have the white ink. We have then over here on this side a very easy access to the other colors on this side. You can change that even during production. And from here we go back to the front side of the machine and we will run a production job for you. For this, we take the USB stick that you can find here. We're going to download a multi-page PDF file into the machine. It is a 4-page file, and we'll launch production and see what comes out. So, Eric is our specialist on this machine. He will quickly show us how to upload this file and start the printing. First of all, we do select the file. You can see already the pictures here. You can see here these 4 different pages with the different graphic works that we took off the USB stick. Next, we run these files through the ripping software, and now we have the ripped files, this multi-page file that you can see here. We can now look into some further details of this file. The software gives us exact printing consumption. This is even calculated the printing costs for ink. If everything looks well, we just launch this printing file with a print button. It's that easy. Let's press start and run this print job through the machine. There you go. Here we go. Beautiful digital printed tubes. So at this point I switch back my camera to front mode. I thank you very much for participating in this live demo of our DigiTube machine. Of course, we had not the time to cover all the details of this technology. If you feel there's any interest in studying your case, please come back to Polytype. We take the time, we can go into further details about this digital printing technology. I hope you enjoyed it, and I give back the camera to our host.
All right. There are some questions for you in the chat box. We have some questions. Is digital print amenable easily to lamination? This is from Reynald de Souza.
What do you mean by lamination? Is it to print when the body is formed, or what is the question exactly here?
Reynald de Souza, if you
I think must be when the body is formed.
Yeah.
Laminate tube, yeah.
Yes. Let Reynald de Souza, if you give him the video, maybe he can speak and explain.
Maybe as a lamination ink when the body is formed, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yes, as I say on my presentation, we are able to print any kind of cylindrical form. So if it's a laminate tube or extruded tube, is no problem at all. We are going to bring this tube on the manual anyway. But what will be important is really to detect the seam of this laminate and to start the printing according to this seam.
Mm-hmm. Does that explain it, Reynald?
Yeah, I presume it's reverse printing which is being talked about, right?
No, it's not a reverse printing. We are printing on the surface of the laminate tubes.
Understood.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay. So we go to another question. After the usage life is over, can printed digital cups, DigiCups, be recycled to make food contact approved recycled material? I think this is a question meant for Dr. Mueller also. Can printed DigiCups be recycled to make food contact approved recycled material?
I think currently that's a technology which is not there yet, but certainly that's a technology we are focusing on. So currently we are, but in a very early development stage, basically to to have some sort of let's say removable primer, which can be printed as a base layer below the ink, and which then later in a recycling or in a washing step can be removed. But today it's too early to say if then in the end the recyclate can also be used for as a contact approved recycled materials in food contact applications again. But definitely it's an interesting and important trend nowadays. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is a similar question from Greg Spengler. What about food contact materials, compliance of UV, low migration inks?
Yes, so all of our low migration, UV low migration formulation, all the components in there are compliant to the Swiss ordinance, to the Nestle guidelines, and to the EUPIA guidelines for the application on the non-food contact side of food materials and articles. And they are produced according to GMP standards. So in the formulation process, we are taking special care to follow all of these guidelines. However, the final compliance of the printed product is always dependent on the whole process. So for each application case, we recommend to do a specific assessment on the migration potential.
Thank you. And inevitably, there is also a question about cost. Flexo ink versus digital ink, cost-wise. Can you comment on that?
Yes. Okay. As I mentioned in my presentation, if you only compare cost of inks, it does not make any sense for me. You have to compare the full process, because when you are using Flexo, you need plates, you need long changeover, you need a lot of time to stop your line. In digital, you don't need to stop at all your machine. So the ink is a tiny part, the price of the ink is a tiny part of the cost of the decoration at the end.
Right. So then there is a question from Mr. Mehrotra. What is the expected market growth rate in digital printing, specifically in India in 2021? The question for Mr. Bhatia, I think. Praveenji, would you like to comment? Praveenji? Is he there? So we move on to another question meanwhile.
I can answer, maybe not for India, but I think it's the same. I think it's difficult to assess, especially in the niche market, what will be the growth for digital. Is it 5, 10, 20%? I don't know. But as I say before, what I can say is we sold 18 machines, and the last year we sold 4. So we can really see a big demand for digital now worldwide. So how much is it? I don't know, but is an acceleration of the growth for digital technology at the moment. Yes.
I see. That's interesting. So there is one question: how can we make the Digit Cup more applicable to industries apart from cups? How can it be used for containers, dairy packaging, food containers packaging, and can change over time between shapes be reduced to less than 1 to 2 hours?
Okay, here is many questions in this questions. What we can do, as I say before, I show you some example. We are specialized in 3D container printing. So if someone wants to make a new product, we can do it. We have to assess on which base we will print this new product. And as I see, when we are talking about changeover, so it depends. If you don't change the size, let's say you always print the same caps, the changeover is 0. We can, without stopping the machine, go from one design to the next design.
So, Mr. Bhatia, are you back?
Yeah. There was some signal problem. Yeah.
So there's a question here. What are the investments required for one machine with all accessories? What is the investment proposition?
Your question is regarding the cup printing or the tube printing?
I would say this is
No.
tube printing.
Gentleman has not
Give
specified.
us for both. I think we can take for both because it's an important investment proposition for cup printing separately and for others separately for tubes.
You be mentally prepared.
That is for the cups.
Yeah, so even for tubes also something similar.
So you need two different lines for cups and tubes, is it?
Sure. Cup digital printing and tube digital printing are entirely different.
Mm-hmm.
So there is one question here about fastness of the inks.
Yes.
So Dr. Mueller, sun fastness of the inks.
So regarding the light fastness, we are using the same pigments for digital or inkjet inks than we also use for analog inks, and just the processing is different. So we are grinding the pigments much smaller, and we did not see any negative effects on the light fastness. So you basically can more or less compare one-to-one the light fastness of a pigment used in an analog ink to an inkjet ink.
Right. And here is a question about how different is your digital print machine from others in the market? If quality is same in terms of dots, why should one pay high price since technology is changing very fast?
Okay, I don't know which market you are talking, but in the pricing, you are one of the cheapest one on the market. Is a very expensive technology. But again, I think is the strength of Polytype is more the expertise on the core business tube or cap. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Deepak ji, I can hear you.
We can hear you. Yeah, it's okay.
My connection was poor. Yeah.
Okay, this is a general question. I don't know which market you are talking, if it's tube, caps, or but we are doing quite. We try to be competitive price. Of course, it cannot be an unlimited budget for everybody. He has to stay on the real budget investment. But today, what we provide with our digital solution is really our know on digital and on the core business. If you are handling tubes, we know how to work with tubes because this machine has to have a good productivity rate as well. You know, you can print digital well, but if the machine stops every 2 minutes because of handling problem or whatever. So as I say before, it's really the know of to be an expert in digital and an expert in the product handling.
Okay, I think we have one last question we can take now. If the pigment grinding is better, is the color gamut better? Dr. Mueller.
No, it's a comparable. So I mean the grinding itself and the grinding to smaller pigments does not really affect the appearance of the color shade. Yeah.
Okay, I think we are now run out of time, so we will...
I have one suggestion. Can I butt in, Mr. Manchanda, with your permission?
Yes, please.
You know, it is important to have a proposition. If we can have a business proposition as to what is the revenues one machine can generate, because this seems to be a very interesting idea. And like one of our attendees, he said, the technology is fast changing. So there needs to be a proposition, investment proposition. Then this can be thought of by various investors as a business investment proposition.
Oh yes, I think you could be in touch.
Yeah, this is what I show in my presentation. When you have an idea or a concrete case, you know, we have to make a study case where we bring numbers on the table, we put in the Excel and we calculate what is your ROE and what is how you will get your return of investment, etc., etc. But yes, you are welcome to contact us and we can go deeper in details with you and see and
Yes,
check.
Mr. Agarwal, yeah, you can leave your number in chat box. I will be in touch with you and we can work on real business proposition for you in Indian context.
Thanks. I'm sending you a number, my email ID.
Okay,
I
thank
think
you.
each proposition has to be customized for the application. That's what we are saying.
Right, right.
Okay, so with this, I thank everyone for being here and for the presentations that have been made here. And thank you for everyone who made the questions. I think we've got food for thought. We've got things to think about, and digital printing is the way forward. And perhaps you'll hear more about it. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.